to me, this is one of the most vitally important things that we could ever grab a hold of, not just as a church, but as society today, is this idea of connection, this idea of community. It's funny, I just bought a exercise bike. I've been riding out on the streets on a bike, and now that it's cold out, I bought an exercise bike. And believe it or not, so I did my first live ride last night. It was a 45-minute live ride. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. If it wasn't live, if it was a recorded class, I would have bailed halfway through. Seriously, straight out. But I'm pedaling as hard as I can, and as you're riding, people within like 5 slots up and below you on the leaderboard, they'll high five you, right? They'll high five you while you're riding. So if they like meet up to where you're at, or if you pass them, they'll high five you to encourage you to keep going in this thing. And I'm like, holy cow, like I'm enjoying sweating my brains out. It's some of the most pain I've ever experienced in my life, but I have a sense of community right now. There's a sense of community that wants me to finish what I started 35 minutes ago when I wanted to bail. And so there, just this idea, like even in cycling, even in exercise bikes, we want to create community because we're missing out on this. So we've set the stage up. We're talking about these Legos, right? Has anybody ever played with Legos? We kind of know what a Lego is, right? Has anybody ever stepped on a Lego barefoot in the middle of the night? That's what my whole sermon is about, that Lego that you stepped on in the middle of the night. We actually were going to shoot a video of somebody stepping on one and make like a really funny thing about it, but we didn't. So there you go. We all know what the experience is, right? Here's the whole purpose and the whole point to this whole message today. It is different than Sunday, but Legos have one purpose. Legos were designed, what? To connect, to snap together and connect. A Lego by itself serves no purpose. There's no purpose for a single Lego. It was designed to connect, and so it is, and I'm not saying that human beings don't have purpose, but human beings were designed to connect to others, to be in community, to live in community. A Lego by itself is not a whole lot, doesn't have a whole lot of purpose. A Lego is designed, listen, to be part of a greater purpose. Every single one of us were designed to be a part of a bigger purpose, a greater purpose. The Bible talks about each and every one of us are like a body part, okay? And we all work together to make the body work, okay? And so the same thing is with us, right? We're a lot like Legos. We're designed to connect. We're designed to have meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships. We're not designed just to have high fives on the exercise bike. High fives are fun. It's nice to be noticed. In fact, because it was my first ride, my first live ride, I actually got a shout out from the instructor live, right? And so people live for those shout outs, to see their screen name shouted out to the 750 other people that I was riding with online last night. But that's not he don't really know me. He just knows that I was Mike FCNY. He doesn't know anything about my background, anything about my history, doesn't know what my favorite drink is, doesn't know what my favorite meal is, doesn't know any secrets of my life, doesn't know the struggles that I've gone through, right? And so sometimes we can confuse acquaintances, coworkers, whatever, with connections, with true, meaningful relationships. A lot of us are like a box of Legos. It's happening to my sons. That's why there's stickers all over it, right? A lot of us live our lives like a box of Legos. We're just bumping in to people around us. We're bumping in. I ran across somebody today. I had a conversation at the water cooler today. I bumped into people, but we're not actually connected. This box is full of single Legos that are not serving any purpose. They're just bumping into one another. They could be part of a greater whole. They could be part of a greater purpose. We could join together as a church and do some amazing things when we bond together, or we could be a house of people just bumping into each other. Did we bump in, bump out? Do we do a quick handshake, quick hug? Or are we taking time to connect to people around us? A lot of families, a lot of our designs of our homes today are unconnected Legos. Dad has his schedule, mom has her schedule, the kids have their schedule. We're bouncing around from soccer practice to ballet to McDonald's, back to church to over here, and we're just kind of bouncing around. We're bouncing around this box, and we'll bump into each other every now and then. You're obviously bumping into each other a little bit because you got 4 kids, right? I mean, but I'm saying we have moments that are magical moments, but at large, we're not really connected. We're not, did I go too far with that? I'm sorry. We're not really having these deep, meaningful, in-depth conversations. I've been trying to encourage people for the last month and a half. What are some goals you're going to accomplish in your home in 2019? What are some goals that you're going to accomplish in your home in 2019? And I know for some people that's like, oh, I can't even think about that. I get that. I get that. So then you're going to live your life and you're going to live 2019 by default instead of by design. Right? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish in your relationship this year? If you're in serious need of a getaway vacation, and you say, I need a vacation, so then what does that look like? What's that going to cost you? And how many caramel lattes are you going to have to say no to say yes to the vacation? How many pairs of shoes are you going to have to say no to say yes to the vacation that you did? How many lunches are you going to have to eat peanut butter and jelly that you brought from home instead of buying out to say yes to the vacation that you need to enhance the relationship with your spouse or the relationship with your children? Because we can say all day we need this, but if we don't do anything to intentionally connect, we're just going to keep bouncing around with no design, with no intentionality for the year, okay? A lot of our families are like this unconnected box of Legos, and that's the most basic form of community is our home. The most basic form of community is our home environment, who we're connecting to in our home. I get frustrated. I get frustrated when I had to go, check this out. This is how messed up society is today. This is how messed up we are today, my family. I'm talking about my family. I tried to say society, but it's really me. It's really me. I tried to blame society, but it's us. We're so messed up that I had to go buy a new Wi-Fi router. I had to go buy a new Wi-Fi router because we had too many devices connected to our old one. We had maxed it out and it would no longer function properly. We had to upgrade to some beastly thing with like 7 seals, and it's like something out of the book of Revelation, so that we could actually all be on our devices. Oh my gosh. We're streaming 5 different shows at the same time in the same room. And then I'm getting upset. I'm getting upset because I can't hear my show. So now I got to go in the other room, and I got to go search through the box, and I'm bringing everybody earbuds, right? I'm like, that is not even a joke. That is for real serious. And then I'm sitting back and saying, wow, we're messed up. Let's play a game. Let's tell a story. Can we connect? Can we connect for 5 minutes tonight? And then maybe we just start with a goal of 5 minutes a night. Could we connect for 5 minutes a night? Could we start there? I'm not telling you that we got to take the device away for the whole night, because that would just start anarchy in my house. Could we start with a 5-minute? Could we eat dinner at the family table tonight together? All right, we'll wait for everyone to get home from their sports, and let's just a thought, because the family is the most basic community, all right? So a lot of us, we shake together when we get home from work. We shake together when we go to the baseball field. We shake together when we go to church. But we're not actually connecting in meaningful ways. God designed us to connect. He wants us to do more than just bump into each other. There's a story in the Bible in the book of Luke 8:43. It's not going to come up on the screen, but it's the story of the woman with the issue of blood. We talked a little bit about this on Sunday. In Luke 8:43, it says this, and a woman was there. Jesus is walking through a city. Picture Jesus walking through Manhattan. I think that's where the tree is. Is the tree, like when they do is that Manhattan? Okay. I don't know. Jesus is walking through Manhattan during the tree lighting ceremony, right? That's got to be crowded. I would assume it's crowded. I've never been there, right? And a woman was there in the middle of the tree lighting ceremony where everybody from nations are coming to see this thing. There's this woman there who's been subject to bleeding for 12 years. Many manuscripts use the word years, and other manuscript says that she had spent all she had on seeing doctors. Come on now. Spent all she had on doctors. She's desperate. She's desperate. Nothing has worked. Modern medicine to this point for her has not worked. She has only one hope. She hears about this guy. She hears about this man named Jesus of Nazareth who's going to every town and village healing all who are sick and oppressed. And she says, well, I've got a problem. I have no money. This is my last hope. So there's this woman there, okay? So she spent all she had, but verse 43 says, but no one could heal her. So she came up behind Jesus, and she touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Jesus turns around and says, who touched me? All right, bro. We're in the middle of Manhattan during the tree lighting. We're bumping into everybody. Somebody tried to pickpocket us 3 times. Like, what do you mean? Who touched you? 35,000 people. You have 35,000 people's DNA on you right now. They have bumped into you. How are you asking this? He's like, no. She didn't just bump into me. This wasn't an accidental brush. This wasn't an accidental bump into me like everybody else. She touched me. She connected to me in faith. I felt her faith connect to me, and I felt virtue leave me. Other people bumped into me, but they didn't take anything away. How many times we bump into each other, but we don't take anything away from that interaction? We don't take anything away. We don't feel any better about ourselves. We don't feel any worse about ourselves. It just kind of is what it is. It was what it was. We just bumped in. He's like, no, this person, whoever this was, did not just bump into me. They connected to me. There was an interaction. There was a transfer. The Bible says that when we do this the right way, in a godly way, the Bible says that iron sharpens iron. That when we connect and we begin to pull from one another and we begin to engage in biblical things, that iron will sharpen iron. We will leave better because we have connected in a moment. Now here's the thing. Jesus turns around and says, who touched me? And the disciples are like, well, how sayest thou who toucheth thee? Everybody touched you. And Jesus is like, no, somebody touched me. Somebody touched me. The Bible goes on to say this. When the woman realized she couldn't get away with it, then she said, it was me. She realized that Jesus wasn't dropping it. He wasn't dropping it. He was like, this is true connection. This is true faith. Yes, I've gone around and I've healed people, but this one took for herself the healing that she needed. She connected to me. And he wasn't going to leave that moment without giving her an additional blessing. If you could get the concept of that. You know why? Because so many times when we get sick or we get ill, we want to blame God. Why aren't I getting better? We want to make it his problem instead of grabbing his promise. She connected to, anyway, we move on. She connected to his promise, all right? This was more than just a casual bumping into Jesus. This was a connection, right? A lot of us bump into people. We bump into people in the grocery store. We bump into people at the mall. We bump into people from college. We bump into people from high school. But that doesn't mean that we're connected to a whole lot of people. We could be in a room of 1,000 people and still feel absolutely lonely. We could be at home with all of our loved ones and feel lonely. We could be sitting across the table. It's supposed to be a romantic dinner. And then both of us decide to check our Facebook feeds and feel lonely, feel disconnected. Okay? A lot of us bump into God wishing for a miracle, but we don't actually connect to God. I'm going to say that again. A lot of us bump into God on Sundays and Wednesdays when we come to church. We bump into him. We hear a good sermon. We experience good praise and worship. We bump into God. And we think by bumping into him, we're going to get a miracle. But it takes faith. It takes faith to receive the miracle. All right? And I don't know if you understand that about faith. I don't know if you've heard faith teaching before. But it takes faith to access the miracle. This lady, it was forbidden for her to be in that area. She says, I'm dying anyway. It was a death sentence for her if she was caught there. She says, I have one hope in Jesus Christ. I'm putting my trust in him. I'm putting my faith in him. I'm going to go get what everyone says he has to offer. All right? It's easy to shake hands with people, say hi, but it's more difficult to have deep relationships. Some of us want people to leave us alone. Or we say we want people to leave us alone. I just want to be left alone. But deep down inside, we're really crying out for someone to notice us. And so then we have this battle going on. Just let me know. What you're saying is I don't want the headaches of people problems. I'm tired of all the drama from your mama. But I do want someone to see me and accept me and love me for who I am. Just the way I am. Why? Because God designed us all for connection, right? And not only are we capable of connection, but we desire this connection that God placed within us. We could say a lot of things. We can say, I'm absolutely happy all by myself and on my own. Okay, yeah, we can have those moments. We can have those moments where we want to be left alone on the beach to read a book. That's great. But there are going to be times where you understand that you were created more than to be a lonely Lego. You were created to connect. You might be the foundational point of a better creation. You might be the foundation. So okay, maybe you're good, but maybe someone else needs you to connect to them to complete their design. You get what I'm saying? We weren't designed to be alone, all right? Why? Because we were created in God's image and after his likeness. And God's image and his likeness is connected, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This topic, I could really probably do 4 weeks on the Trinity, on the Godhead, because a lot of people don't understand it. It's become this thing like, okay, how can Jesus in the garden be praying to God, but he is God? So is he not praying to himself? Okay, so let me just ask you this. If you had an egg and you took the white part out of the egg, what do you call that? No, the white part. Egg white. Is it still egg? Huh? Okay. If you take the middle out, the yellow out, what do you have? Egg yolk. Is it still egg? Okay. If you take the shell, what do you have? Egg shell. Is it still an egg? So it has 3 parts, but it's an egg. Huh? That's God. That's Elohim. Right? There's 3 parts, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but they operate in unity as one. Listen what I'm saying. They operate in unity as one. That's why Jesus said, I don't say anything I haven't heard the Father say. They were absolutely one in unity, but they operate in separate parts. He said, I sent my word, and it healed him. He sent Jesus Christ to come to this earth to bring healing to us. He sent him out. He had a task to do. So for that moment of time, Jesus Christ left heaven and came to earth. 3 parts united in one, all right? We were not created out of the loneliness of God. Can I say that again? We were not created out of the loneliness of God. I love what Meiser Eckhart of the 14th century said, and I'm going to read his whole quote. He says, we were born out of the laughter of the Trinity. I love that. We were born out of the laughter of the Trinity, not out of the sigh of the Trinity, not out of the loneliness of the Trinity. Ready this? God laughed, and he said, let us make man. From his fellowship, from this fellowship, God spring all our longings for a friend, a family, a fellowship, for some place to belong. He goes on to say this, our desire to connect springs from God. He laughed. He said, man, I got this idea. You'll wonder if we take what we have here and we duplicate it in what, let's call them humans. And then we'll make the humans, and then like the female counterpart will be the woman. Have you ever had a brainstorming session, and all of a sudden all this excitement happens? I could just imagine God creating us out of this laughter and excitement, not like, man, I really wish somebody would worship me. Let me create man. I know they're not going to be anything really great or spectacular, but at least it's something. That was not the creation. When God stood back and he had finished Adam and he was like, yo, we did this. It's good. Then he created trees and he was like, it's good. And he created animals. He said, it's good. Says all these things. There's this echo. It's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. And the echo stops with it is not good. That man be alone. It is not good for the Lego to be alone. You know, we actually live in a world designed to disconnect us. Although we feel we're more connected than we ever have, it just means that we have more access to each other's business than we ever had before. But we've actually, the world today, the earth today is actually designed to disconnect us. All right? Why is that? Why is the earth today designed to disconnect? Why is the earth designed today with so many distractions? You know, we don't just have one TV in our homes. Like there used to be back in the day, the TV room. I mean, I can remember, I'm a little older than this side of the room. I was the remote control. We had UHF and VHF. And when it was time to turn the channel, my dad said, boy, get up and turn the channel. And so I had to get up there, and then you turn the channel, and then on the channel, there was a second knob. They don't even know about this. There's this second knob that you had to turn to tune in and get the fuzzies out of the, anyway, dear God. Why am I even talking about that? Oh, because you had one TV in the house. It was the TV room. Man, we got TVs everywhere. Yo, people got TVs in the bathroom. How messed up are we that we can't be in the bathroom without TV? Oh, but now we got streaming TV to our phones. We got it everywhere. Why? Well, and I'm not talking about TV specifically, but why is the earth designed to disconnect us? Because it goes against what God said. God said connection is good. It is not good for us to be disconnected. So the earth, the enemy, the devil says, then we need to disconnect everybody. If God says it's not good, then we got to make it good. We got to make it popular. We got to make it the trend. We got to make it the way the earth is going today. If God says it's not good, let's make it the most popular thing out there. If God said this is good, 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 then let's make that not good. Come on, we got to see this. We got to understand it, right? We can get so caught up in our busy schedules. We can brag about being workaholics and isolation. We get so isolated that we could possibly miss out on our destiny. That we might be destined to connect with other people to accomplish a greater purpose. And I'm talking to myself too. Satan wants us all to miss our destiny. Can I say it like that? The enemy wants us all to miss our destiny. God has called us to connect. And I don't care where you're watching this. I don't care that you got the most friends in the world. We have to understand that God's design, the greater purpose of all our lives, is to help one another reach our potential in life. That's the point, all right? He has called us to work together and to be together. He created the family. The family was first. But God also created other things. He created the church. He created cities. He created states. He created nations. God set all that up because he says we need people to work together. All of these are reflecting the community life of God. The Bible talks that there are streets in heaven paved with gold. Why would you need streets? Well, to get down to the neighborhood house, to the next neighborhood. He says that he goes and prepares a place for you. In my Father's house, there are many. Think about that one for a second. In his house, there's many mansions. How big's that house? But he's the designer of community. It's not going to be much different except that the roads are gold. In heaven, we're having community. We're built for community, okay? Adam didn't need to be alone, and it was not good for Adam to be alone. God says that aloneness is not a good thing. Now, because I can hear people, I don't have a problem being alone. I don't have a problem being alone either. I will randomly go away and read a book for a day or two and isolate myself to hear from God and pray and those sort of things. But in short spurts of time, short amounts of time, overall, there are people who are going to miss out on the greatness that's inside of you if you don't connect to them. If you don't connect your ideas and your thoughts and your dreams to the things that they're doing, your advice, your life experience, right? It is not good for us to be alone. So if God says that something isn't really good, isolation isn't good, the single Lego on the ground that you step on barefoot, remember that? God says that's not good. We all know that's not good, right? Stepping on that Lego is not good. Then the world and the enemy wants us to believe that it is good. That we should be as distracted as possible, that we should be as disconnected as possible, that we shouldn't talk, that we should hold all of our feelings in. Whatever God says is good, the devil likes. Whatever God said is not good, the devil likes. Whatever God says is good, the devil dislikes. Right? The enemy wants you to be isolated. You ever watch the Discovery Channel and you got that lion crouching down in the weeds and the animals are going across? The lion always goes after the lone animal Because there's power in the pack. There's power in the numbers, right? You see, there was this one where one of these animals was going to be attacked, and the pack turned and started beating up on this lion, and the lion goes and runs away. But when the lion can get you isolated, that's why the Bible says that the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion. He ain't a lion. He ain't got no lion power. He got no teeth. So he can walk around like one. He might be able to bark like one. Bark's not the word. So, lion. Roar. But it's kind of a little weird because he's got no teeth. So it's like a toothless roar. I don't know how that would come across. But he wants us alone, and he wants us to implode. Do you know what the enemy wants you to do? The enemy wants you to experience hurts and pains and struggles, and then not know what to do with those things and suppress them. Because there's only one of two things that are going to happen with years and years of suppressed emotion. You're either going to explode, and you're going to say a whole bunch of stuff that you don't really want people to hear you say, or you're going to implode, and you're going to have some sort of nervous or emotional breakdown. That's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants us all emotionally unstable and medicated. Come on. He wants us out of our mind. He wants us to be controlled by the substances of medication so that we are not under the influence of the Holy Spirit. That's my soapbox. That's what I believe. The enemy wants you to be intimidated to reach out and touch Jesus. The enemy wants to catch you outside. Catch me outside. The enemy wanted to stop the one with the issue of blood before she got into the city. He wanted to intimidate her. What are you thinking? What are you thinking coming here right now? If anybody catches you in here, like, you're dead. He wants to intimidate you. You're not good enough. Even if you get within distance of Jesus, he won't heal you. He might love and care for somebody who's good, but Jesus doesn't want you. He might want somebody to heal somebody who behaves, but he won't deal with you. See, that's what the enemy wants. He wants you intimidated. The enemy wants to remind you of your flaws. He wants to remind you of your past. He wants to remind you of your shortcomings so that you never even attempt to connect to Jesus. Jeez. Yeah, but if I touch the hem of his garment, I can be made whole. If I don't ever touch it, if I don't ever connect to Jesus, I can never get. It's never even an option. So I used to golf. I golfed for like a short amount of time. I don't golf anymore. I pity golfed. I golfed for my dad, to go golfing with my dad. I was horrible at golf, and the worst part of golfing is putting. Any golfers in the house? Putting just make you want to die. Get me up on the box. I will hit that driver as hard as I can. Wah! But then putt, like moving that ball 6 inches to get in there, like just absolute drives me. So, you're on the green and you're putting. And one day I was out golfing with my dad's best friend. His name's Bob Gass. And I had about a 10-foot putt, right? So from about here to that, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a box on the stage there. So from here to that box, I'm going to putt it. And I putted it, and the ball stops right here. And there's the hole. And so now it's sermon time. Michael, he's Irish. Michael, let me tell you something, lad. You can never make it in the hole hitting it too softly. You can never make it in the hole hitting it too softly. You got to give it enough to get in the hole. If you're going to miss it long, not short. True facts. Lesson on the green. If you're going to miss it long. Because at least you had a chance to get it in. Hitting it too soft, you never had a chance to get it in. If the lady stayed outside the city, she never had a chance to be made whole. If she stayed isolated in her home, spending all she had, oh my God, will somebody just come help me? She never had a chance. But going out of her way, doing something that she shouldn't have done, she went for it all. She said, I'm blowing right past this thing. I'm going for broke. I'm going all out. But at least I'll know that I did everything I could to get that healing. Connecting to others might be way outside your comfort zone. Being a social person might literally make you break out in a sweat, and those 2 minutes of socializing was the longest 2 minutes of your life during the big greet. I don't understand that. I can't say I do understand that. Through books, I understand that there's people like that, right? Because that's not who I am, right? So to me, I'm thinking everybody wants to take 45 minutes and walk around and hug everybody and say hi to everybody, but that's not the fact, right? So when we say to you, like, all of 2019, we want to create community and connections and put people in your life, that to you, it's like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if that's who I am. I don't know if I'm built that way. I would say that you're believing some story that someone said to you that is probably not fully true. I think that you're hitting the ball of life just too short. You're believing a lesser story of who you're created to be. That if we put a little bit more energy, maybe if we step out a little bit of that comfort zone, if we step out of, maybe someone says that you're shy, you're in a shell. If we went a little harder, went a little further, we have an opportunity to unlock something in us that will change the community, that would change church, that would change other people's lives. See, the enemy wants you intimidated because of one bad relationship that you've had. I tried trusting a church person. I tried and I trusted and I got hurt. And so we have one bad relationship, so I will never let anybody else. I will never try another good relationship. See, the devil wants you isolated. He wants you looking at the past and looking at mistakes. People all around but not connected. And so here's a couple things that I've seen, and I'm going to get to my points. We're going to make this happen. All right? Here's the revelation. There is this God-shaped void in all of us that only God can fill. There's this element in life, and if everyone here is a believer, then it's in your friend's life, it's in a coworker's life. There's this thing that they're looking for. There's this missing link, and some people want to climb to the top of a mountain because they're looking for something, an experience. Some people turn to a bottle because they're looking for a change or something different at the bottom of a bottle. Someone, whatever. Like we look for this thing that's going to complete us, and only a connection with God can make that thing happen, can fill us completely. All right? So ultimately, we have to have a connection with God. But we're fooling ourselves if we think, you're all I ever needed. God's all I need. Just me and God. That's all I need. All I need is Jesus. Just me and Jesus. That's not true. That's not true. And I know that, and I know that I seem a little condescending there, but I'm not. Because God said in Genesis it's not good. Adam had all of God. There was no break between him and God. There was no sin, and God said it's not good. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself to think that you can override what God said's not good. That's heavy. All right? We were not only created for a relationship with God, but we were created for deep and meaningful relationships with others. So the first thing we got to do is we got to connect to God. If we don't have a connection with God, we're never going to have a clean connection with others. The second thing is that we need to connect with others. Matthew 18:20 says, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Where 2 or 3 come, they connect together. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together, connected in my name. We're doing a Bible study. We're praying together. We're just hanging out. We're having a barbecue. We're grilling in the backyard. I'm going to tell you the story. One night, me and my buddy Winston, we were supposed to go on a motorcycle ride. And earlier that day, he was, I think he got hurt on the job. I think he was chasing a perp and he twisted his ankle. So his ankle was big. It was swollen. So he calls me and says, "Oh, Mike, I'm not going to be able to ride tonight. Come over to my house. Let's sit in the backyard. We'll do a little fire in a little fire pit. We'll just hang out, drink some sodas. We'll hang out in the back." I'm like, "All right, yeah, cool, man." So we go, we're hanging out in the back, and we're just talking. We're just hanging out. We're just chilling. And Wink, he looks over to me. He goes, "Yo, man, you want another drink?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he gets up, and he walks perfectly fine and goes and gets me a drink. He gets about halfway across the backyard, and he stops. And I'm like, "Seltzer." He stopped for like seltzer. He goes, bro. Now Wink, he was bigger than life. His, bro. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Bro, my ankle." I'm like, "What?" "My ankle." "What?" "My ankle, it's healed. My ankle is not swollen. My ankle, bro, my ankle." And so I'm just totally not getting it. I'm like, "Okay, awesome." Seriously, I'm kind of slow. I didn't get it till I was driving home, like 2 hours later. I'm driving home, and I'm like, wait, none of us prayed over his ankle. None of us stopped and lit candles. We didn't pull out the acoustic guitar and sing worship. I know I'm being silly. We did not do intercessory prayer. We did not speak in tongues. We didn't scream at the devil. We did not rebuke the devourer. We didn't bind and loose. We did none of that. We were just simply sitting around this fire talking. We're just hanging out. We're just chilling. I think we ended up talking about something biblical throughout the night. I'm driving home, and I'm like, holy crow. Where 2 or 3 are gathered around a bonfire, where 2 or 3 Christians are, there he is in the midst of us. Right? And what kind of friend invited into your midst, knowing he has the power to heal you, wouldn't heal you? Like, it hit me as I'm driving home. Tears start coming down like, oh my God, I didn't even realize, like, God came to our bonfire. And he sat down next to us. And he's like, well, while I'm here in the midst of the 2 or 3 of you, I might as well do what I can do that you cannot do. I might as well handle this ankle situation. Listen, and I know that you could be sitting here today and be like, listen, you are stretching this thing so far. So what? Even if I am. It's the only way I can quantify the situation. His ankle was swollen. It was big. No one prayed over him. He got up and it was healed. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of him. Our hope this year in creating sermon-based small groups is that 2 or 3 are gathering together in your homes, and that we can get Jesus walking around the corridors of our homes. That we can get Jesus into new homes, that we can get Jesus into places that maybe he hasn't been to before. We get 2 or 3 together, speaking about the word, speaking the same thing, connecting in unity, the way that God designed us to connect in community, speaking about the word, there he is. And I'm telling you right now, I expect to hear those kind of stories happening on a weekly basis. Like, I'm telling you right now, those sort of miracle level stories are going to be coming in, flooding our email boxes, flooding the mailbox every single week, where we weren't actually expecting, but we were doing what the Word of God said. Our expectation about what we were called to do was his invitation to do something mind-blowing, exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever ask or think, right? And so, real quick, few points here. Why don't we connect? Number one, fear of intimacy. Fear of intimacy. People have not had good friends. People have had hard times in marriages. They have had hard times in relationships. A relationship failed them. They were hurt with it. And so they disconnected. And when you never take time to connect with others, it causes a root of fear. Fear will spring up. There's a lack of trust because of pain. You know, I'm not going to trust anybody. I'm going to put this wall up. I was hurt by a man. I was hurt by a woman. I was hurt, so I'm going to put this wall up, and I'm going to ensure that no one ever gets close enough again to hurt me this way. There's this fear of intimacy. There's this fear of vulnerability. If I tell my story, they're not going to like me. If I tell my story, they're going to look at me differently. If I tell my story, I'm going to lose my job. If I tell my story, they won't want to actually be my friend. There's this fear. And it's very, very real. It's a very real fear. And so because we have that fear of intimacy, we say, I just won't connect. I won't connect. There's another element to this. The reason why we don't connect is selfishness. Many Americans today, we only think about ourselves. So I'm only going to stay to myself. I'm going to spend all my money on me. I'm not going to do anything else. They only think about their own needs and their own concerns. And this is why most marriages fail. Most marriages fail because you're selfish. You wanted what you wanted out of the relationship, but you didn't really care about fulfilling the needs of the other person. Okay? Two people live their lives bumping into each other, but they didn't really connect. Right? Some people in church, they want all the blessings that God has for them, but they don't ever want to take time and worship God. They don't want to take time to connect to God, but they want all the blessings that his word says. Come on, this is going on and on, right? Another reason why people don't connect is that they have poor health. Studies have shown that people who live to themselves are more likely to die early. Check that one out. Studies have shown that studies that show that even people who had poor health habits live longer if they had deep, meaningful relationships. I think that's why my dog is living so long. My dog, I hug on that dog, I kiss on that dog every day. She has like a life expectancy of 8 to 10 years and she's 12 years old. I'm like, she just loved, that's why, right? Even a person with poor health, when they're in a community of healthy, meaningful relationships, they have a longer life, right? So in other words, it is better to eat funnel cake at the Orange County Fair than to eat broccoli alone. Gospel. I just wrote a Bible verse. So in closing, this is really my closing, seriously. Why is it that we're not connecting? What's standing in our way? Is there certain things standing in our way? Have you believed the lie of the word that you're shy? Were you hurt in your last relationships? Did you have friends that you're no longer friends with and you were hurt by that? These can't be excuses. You can't hold someone else's failure against your next relationship. Okay? We were designed to connect. On January 27th, 2019, we are launching sermon-based small groups here at Family Church. Our desire for 2019 is that everyone in our family, everyone in this church, is connected to someone through small groups. Okay? Even if you decide to not be connected through small groups, we are working on a way to care for you in a way during our services where you feel loved and connected to, right? So either way, our intention for the year is to give you every opportunity to connect to other believers. If you still choose not to be involved in a small group and do Bible study, then while you're here at church, we're going to go out of our way to create systems to connect to you, okay? So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag as to what that looks like yet. I'm not ready. It would be premature. But I would say this. I invite every single one of you to attend this year's Helps Ministry meeting. It's going to be January 27th at night, 7 p.m. here in the family room. We're going to start with praise and worship. It's going to be an exciting night. It's going to be a lot of information about serving in the church and what the vision for our serve teams are in 2019. You're saying, well, how can I go? I don't serve here. I'm not a member of the church. Everybody can come January 27th because it's going to be information about the church. It's going to be information about what we're doing, where we're going. There will be between 500 and 600 people who are already serving. It takes about 500 people a week for us to do what we do serving the local church, okay? But we want to create more positions. We want to create more positions. We want to create, so now we're on, I said I was going to close. You want to tell you this one thing? I'm going to get your permission. Now that we're at 2 services on Sunday, some people have to park a little bit further away. It just is what it is. Too many cars are getting stuck on the grass, right? They're getting stuck in the mud. We have to tow them out. So we want to create a way to make that easier for everybody. So we want to run the shuttle bus through the parking lot nonstop, pre-service and post-service, picking people up at their cars and driving them from parking lot 6 all the way to the front door in a heated bus, all right? But that position doesn't exist. We have Wednesday night transportation department where we go pick up people that can't drive to church, but we don't have, it's not a position in the church for someone to drive the shuttle bus in the parking lot to bring people to the front door. You don't need a CDL license. Anybody can drive it because it's a 15-passenger van. How about you? Okay? This is what I'm saying. Just because we don't currently have a position in what you do for your joy and for a hobby and for your life doesn't mean we can't create it tomorrow. We're looking for opportunities to create brand new positions every single day, doing exactly what you do, what's in your heart. How can we help you do what's in your heart? Sunday night, January 27th, we want to open the door for you to experience that. This will be a great opportunity for you to also meet new people, right? We're going to have a moment of meet and greet in that moment. So January 27th, 7 p.m. right here in this room. Father, we thank you tonight that we could step into your word and begin to discover some things about who you are and who you created us to be. I pray, God, that none of us feel isolated, forgotten, unnoticed. That, God, you see us. You see us just the way we are. You see us. You know the numbers of hairs that are on our head. You know us so well that you see us. God, help us to have your eyes to see our neighbor, to see the people around us. Give us eyes to see the needs, the joys,